Ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to hear a few words from our maid of honour, Rebecca.
Hi everyone. What a bloody entrance that was, by the way. I just want to say it's such a privilege to be standing here today as Tony's maid of honour. Too soon. Firstly, I'd just like to thank you all for coming. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Rebecca, but if you're family, friends, or if you're Jamie's dad, then you'll definitely know me as Rab. Sorry, Jim, I might have overreacted that one time you called me Rebecca. I've known Toni my full life. We aren't just cousins, we're cousins, sisters, and best friends all wrapped into one. Growing up with Toni, we'd spend hours playing schools, houses and weddings. I was never allowed to be the mum, the teacher or the bride. Apparently those roles were already taken. The funny thing is, she's actually became all three. Meanwhile, I'm still standing here waiting. Yeah, Owen. That is because Toni has always known exactly what she wanted. Toni, you're an amazing teacher, you're an incredible mum to Charlie and Jude, and I'm sure you're going to be the most loving, caring, generous wife, but Jamie can testify to that. The final thing still to come is Toni wanted around about 5 kids. Jamie, you're going to need a bigger house. Sorry guys. Toni is the kindest, most caring person you will ever meet and would do absolutely anything for anyone. But she also holds a grudge like it's an Olympic sport, by the way. If anyone annoyed me at school, I'd be over it by lunchtime, but Toni, she'd still hate them 6 months later. But she's always been fiercely loyal, and that is one of the things I admire most about her. She's also the most organised person I've ever met. This wedding didn't just happen overnight, it was practically a military operation. Every little detail has been personalised by Toni herself, and I mean literally everything by herself. She's spent months making today absolutely perfect, and as for me, I didn't even have my shoes ordered at the start of the week. But yeah, don't get me started on taking pictures with Toni. A quick picture with Toni does not exist. We'd take about 100 pictures on a night out and she'd still hate every single one of them. So to the photographer, she's definitely going to get her money's worth today. Now for Jamie. Hi, you looking? No, you're fine. You've become one of my best friends too. From the moment Toni brought you into our lives, you've been part of the gang. We've shared so many laughs and memories over the years, but I'd like to embarrass myself for this one. I always thought Jamie would make it pro as a goalie, so when I saw him put a fag to his mouth, I had to stop it from happening. I don't know why, but I decided to punch him in the face, and then I ate the fag. I don't know why, right? I obviously spewed everywhere, but it was all for nothing because he didn't make it pro anyway. And Jamie, I know you originally had different best man plans, but after I very kindly removed my ex from all of our lives, you had to rethink things. So Alan, congratulations on your promotion. And I was going to tell everyone what happened at Ralston Community Centre, but I promised to keep this speech family friendly. So those of you who know, and if you don't, you can ask me at the bar later. Fast forward to a few years later. Watching Toni and Jamie become parents has been one of the greatest privileges of my life. Their boys are their absolute world, and everything they do is for them. Charlie and Jude have both their mum and dad's sense of humour, making them the funniest boys you will ever meet. Toni, sorry, I'm going to start crying. Thank you for being the person who's always been there for me. No matter what life has thrown at us, you've been by my side. You're kind, selfless, and hilarious, and I'm lucky to call you not just my cousin, but my best friend for life. Jamie, thank you for making her so happy. You make her laugh, you support her, and together you built a beautiful family filled with so much love. So if everyone could raise a glass to a lifetime of laughter, happiness, love, and maybe, just maybe, those 3 extra children, to Mr. and Mrs. McGowan. Thanks, guys. I'm actually shaking. I'm going to pass the mic over to Alan now.
Thank you, Rebecca. Ladies and gentlemen, our best man, Alan.
Hi everyone, it's my privilege and honour to be here today as Jamie's best man. Firstly, I'd like to thank our bridesmaids who look stunning and our groomsmen for their help and ushers. You've been fantastic. Toni, you look amazing and thank you for trusting me to look after Jamie in the build up to this. So without any further delay, let's have a big cheer for the new Mr. and Mrs. McGowan. I've known Jamie since high school and we've been great friends ever since. It's been brilliant being mates with Jamie. There's never a dull moment. He's always up for a laugh and never takes things too seriously. But somehow he's ended up being a brilliant dad to Charlie and Jude. Right, that's the nice bit done, which I'm sure everyone will be glad to hear. I've been a few places over the years with Jamie and somehow it's usually football related. Between school football trips to London and Malaga, I watched one of my best mates try to scale the footballing world. At one point, he tried this route by signing for Greenock Morton. Keep on. I still remember the day Jamie telling me he signed for St Murn's biggest rivals. My heart sank and I immediately changed his name on my phone to Soap Dodging Bastard. Thankfully, it was only a short spell and he regained some sense, otherwise I would not be standing here. Before I move on, I'd also like it noted for the record that several people were desperate for me to include stories about Jamie, involving Jimmy McGowan. Unfortunately for legal reasons, and the fact this is a wedding, most of them had to be left out. However, Jimmy did ask me to make one thing very clear. Jamie, you're only the second best goalie in the family. Those were Jimmy's words, not mine. I've been told it had to be included in the speech, and I'm not brave enough to argue with Jimmy either. But anyway, Jamie's now a joiner with the council, so his football highlights are done. One of my favourite memories with Jamie was a trip we took to Amsterdam for my stag do. Now, if anyone's ever been to Amsterdam, you'll know there are certain crude attractions that require €2 coins. What I didn't expect was Jamie suddenly becoming the most determined coin collector within the European continent. At one point, he asked me for change of a €50 note, and that's when I realised we might not be seeing him much for the rest of the night. While the rest of us were taking in the sights, Jamie seemed to be in a city-wide mission to find every €2 coin in Amsterdam. Honestly, I've never seen a man so interested in loose change. He was asking strangers for change, checking every pocket he owned, and looking at €2 coins the way most people would look at winning lottery numbers. To be fair though, I've got to admire the commitment. If he'd shown that level of dedication when he signed for Morton, we might be still be talking about his football career instead of his council pension. Another time I'll never forget was when Jamie and I went to a Scotland game and we didn't get home until nearly 2 in the morning. Now usually when two mates end up at home at that time, there's a lot of alcohol involved. No, this occasion, this was purely down to good old Scottish weather. The game ended up delayed for about an hour and a half and Jamie and I were sitting absolutely soaked, wondering if we'd ever see home again. To make matters worse, we somehow ended up being on the big screen at Hampden. For a brief moment, we even became a celebrity, caught mouthing, for F's sake, how much longer is this going to go on? Apparently that's what peak Scottish television looks like. I've also known Toni for years, and some of her extended family have also known me too. I remember in the early days of Toni and Jamie's relationship, went on a night out in Paisley, and like any happy couple, they had a bit of a bicker. Fair enough, it happens, but a young sweetheart's at such a bicker that I ended up stepping in and ordering us a taxi home, as my parents stay round the corner from Tony's mum and stepdad's. Jamie said in the taxi that he was going to be going into Tony's to collect his belongings and he was coming straight back out to me. And like any good mate, I waited in the taxi. And I waited. And I waited. And after what felt like 20 minutes, I phoned him to ask what was happening. Jamie then informed me, sounding a wee bit out of breath, that he wasn't leaving anymore and he'd sorted things out. I'll let you fill in the blanks. I'm delighted to see that one argument on a night out never got in the way of what's turned to be a brilliant relationship and now a marriage. Although I'm still disappointed he left me sitting for the taxi meter on. Cheers for that. You can square me up at any point you want. Looking back on it now, it turns out that's probably the best decision he's ever made, apart from maybe leaving Greenock Morton. And on that note, I'll sign off. To have Jamie in your life is something I'll always appreciate. He's one of the most loyal, genuine and funniest mates you could ask for. And seeing the life that him and Tony have built together has been brilliant. Jamie, you've done incredibly well for yourself. Tony, thank you for putting up with him. So let's raise a glass to the McGowans, to Jamie, Tony, Charlie and Jude. Here's to a lifetime of happiness, laughter and making memories together. Ladies and gentlemen, to Mr. and Mrs. McGowan.
Thank you, Alan. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to hear from our groom, Jamie.
Right. First of all, I'd like to apologise to the janitor of Ralston Community Centre who's in here. John, I am really sorry. And then secondly, I'd like to thank Alan for giving me the credit of 20 minutes. So firstly, I'd just like to thank you all for coming here today to help us celebrate. Tony's told me that I've got 10 minutes maximum for this speech. Stop reading it. So I'm going to really enjoy this moment because this has been the first time and will be the last time I'll get to stand next to Tony and she won't interrupt me every 10 seconds. So there's a lot of people who have made today what it is. Firstly, the amazing bridesmaids, Rab, Corey and Leah. I can only imagine what you have all had to go through dealing with Tony, not just the last 24 hours, but these last 2 years. You've helped keep us somewhat calm with all the DIY for today and her amazing away and home hen do. And a special thanks to Rab for your amazing speech. Next up is my groomsmen, Scotty, Rory and Kyle. I don't really know what yous have done, but yous bought me loads of drinks on the stag do's, so keep them coming. And finally, our handsome page boys, Charlie, Jude, Thomas and baby Alfie, and to the flower girl, Thea. Thank you all so much for being part of our day. Next up is my hero and my first love, my best man, Alan, everyone. You've smashed it, mate, planning me an amazing stag do in Liverpool, although it did come with a few hiccups along the way. Not only taking us to the wrong digs, not once, but twice, and then we finally get there and there's no running water after somebody took a shite in the toilet. Where are you, Div? And then the final hiccup was there wasn't enough beds. So if anyone wants to see the picture of me spooning my mate Owen, I'm sure Alan will show you for a price of rum and coke. All jokes aside, it worked out in the end and I knew I could trust you to plan an amazing weekend that I would never forget. And I hope when my boys grow up they can get a friend as good as you. Now on to my mum and dad. I want to say a massive thank you, not just for today but for all the love, sacrifices over the years. I wouldn't be standing here today the man or dad I am without you both. You have set a wonderful example of what a loving marriage, family and home looks like. Both of you welcomed Tony into the family about 13 years ago. I can remember the first night Tony came to the house and I asked my mum if a girl could come over for dinner. And my mum, in her usual fashion, decided to batter me with 20 questions, one after the other, like a machine gun. But the one she asked about 7 times was, "Is this lassie your girlfriend?" Which I hadn't actually asked Tony at that point, but I decided to act cool and say, "Aye, of course she is." So my dad decided to rattle up his speciality, which is spaghetti bolognese. So Tony came up, we had a great night, everything went so well, and I thought, this is my moment, I'm going to ask her to be my girlfriend. But she still said no. So that tells you all in here how shite my dad's spaghetti bolognese actually is. Because thankfully, I bought a Domino's. This was after the Domino's that the rest of the family ate. This was another night, and Tony changed her mind, and we haven't looked back since. And still to this day, a takeaway gets me out of jail. Now on to Andy and Emma. You have raised an incredible daughter, and I promise to love and cherish her forever. Andy, I know handing your daughter over is a pretty big deal, so I'd like to thank you for being part of that moment. When I saw you and Tony walking down the aisle together, it's a moment that I'll never forget. Thank you both for trusting me with the honour of spending the rest of my life with this beautiful girl. Yous also both made me feel like family right from the very beginning. But I think yous are just happy for somebody to be taking Tony off your hands for a while. So yous are both welcome. I still remember the night that I asked you both permission to propose to Tony. I came in and I spoke to Emma first and told her she was buzzing, but I told her I needed her help to find out what size of ring to buy Tony. So then you shouted Andy in, and Andy came in typical Andy fashion, with about 10% enthusiasm, and just said, "Nae bother." So thankfully, Tony's reaction a few weeks later was something that I will also never forget. I arrived here at our overnight stay, and as you heard upstairs, set up signs on the bed. When Tony came in and clocked the signs, in true Hollywood fashion, she dropped her keys, bag, phone to the floor and started crying. But then in true Glenburn fashion, through the tears, she shouted, "Are you fucking actually bamming me up?" So thankfully today she stuck with no swear words and copied everything that you were to say. Now finally, at the start of the show, my stunning new wife, the new Mrs. McGowan. To start with, I just want to say what an amazing job you have done for today. All those hours locked away in the dining room doing DIY has made today as special as possible. And as much as I'd like to lie to everybody and say that I had a massive help, all I did was pick the quilts, and it was the first one I seen in the shop. You look absolutely stunning today, as always, and I'm the luckiest person alive to be marrying you. I've known since that first moment at Glenburn High Flats that you were my soulmate. You're the kindest, most selfless person, and we have faced some of life's toughest challenges, but also the most amazing highs, none other than the birth of our 2 amazing kids. But I would still say Kenny McLean's goal against Denmark runs them very close. I never thought our connection could ever grow stronger, but watching you bring these 2 beautiful boys into the world was the most powerful and amazing moments I've ever experienced. Seeing the amazing, caring and supportive mum you are daily warms my heart and motivates me to be the best dad and now husband I can be. I promise to love you and our 2 kids until the end of time, and I can't wait to have many more happy memories as we start this new and happy chapter in life as husband and wife. So here is to the best day of my life. On behalf of Tony and I, thank you all so much for coming today. Would you please join me in raising a glass to my incredible and beautiful new wife, my best friend and the best mum to our boys. Thank you for choosing me and making me the luckiest person in the world. To a lifetime of happiness together as one family. To Tony, everyone. Who have I to give this to?
Thank you, Jamie.
I was a boat stuck in a bottle that never got the chance to touch the sea. Just forgot on the shelf, no wind in the sails, going nowhere with no one but me. I was 1 in 100 billion, a burnout star in a galaxy. Just lost in the sky, wondering why everyone else shines out for me. But I came to life when I first kissed you. The best me has his arms around you. You make me better than I was before. Thank God I'm yours. I was a worn out set of shoes, wandering the city street. Another face in the crowd, head looking down, lost in the sound of a lonely melody. Empty pockets and a roulette, always landing on a lost bet. Just live for the spin and hope for the win, go all in just to lose again. But I came to life when I first kissed you. The best me has his arms around you. You make me better than I was before. Thank God I'm yours. The worst me is just a long gone memory. You put a new heartbeat inside of me. You make me better than I was before. Thank God I'm yours. A boat stuck in a bottle, never got the chance to touch the sea. I came to life when I first kissed you. The best me has his arms around you. You make me better than I was before. Thank God I'm yours. The worst me is just a long gone memory. You put a new heartbeat inside of me. You make me better than I was before. Thank God I'm yours. Thank God I'm yours.
For the first time together as a married couple. Once again, make some noise with you, Mr. and Mrs. Buchanan.
When I hold you, baby, feel your heart beat close to me. Wanna stay in your arms forever. Only love can set you free. When I wake each morning, as the storm beats down on me, and I know we belong together.
See the kids, guys. Heads on you go, kids. Go, go.
Only love can set you free.
And now it's an open dance floor. Everyone, take your partners and join on.
When I hold
See
you,
your partners everywhere. Go for it.
feel your heart beat close to me. Wanna stay in your arms forever. Only love can set you free.
Bring it on, everyone. Here we go.
When I wake each morning,
these guys. Glow sticks over there. Got my glow stick.
When we touch each other, in a state of ecstasy.
Hands in the air, everyone. Every single person, hands in the air. Let's see you. Glow sticks in the air as well.